right, guys, welcome back to week 15 of Audibles Sports. We're here to give you our favorite plays this week for season-long fantasy football, and we are in the playoffs now. Be sure to follow us on YouTube and Twitter. We're going to be giving our FanDuel plays away on Twitter this week. Just like every other week, follow us, make some money, and we're going to kick it off with our favorite quarterbacks this week. Who you got, Garrett?
I'm going to roll with Kirk Cousins versus the Bears this week. Bears are 30th versus quarterbacks over the length of the season, and they've given over 20 points per game over the last 4 weeks to the position. And Cousins has been averaging over 270 passing yards over the last 6 weeks, and he's thrown at least 2 touchdowns in each of those games in that span as well. The defense has been giving it up, so the Bears should be able to keep it competitive. They were just able to put up 30 points on Green Bay's defense that I think is a better defense than what the Vikings have been presenting lately. So I expect the game to be competitive, and the Vikings need to win to keep their playoff hopes alive. And I fully expect to see that Vikings offense on point.
Yeah, and KJ Osborne's been a nice little breakout for Kirk Cousins as well this year, and Dalvin Cook looks fully healthy, so that offense should be rolling against Chicago.
Yeah, Adam Thielen is still expected to miss, but when you got Jay Jettas over there, Justin Jefferson, and like you said, KJ Osborne's picking it up. Well, yeah, and then on top of that, you got one of the best running backs in the league who also catches passes out of the backfield.
Well, for my quarterback this week, I'm going to go with Taysom Hill, who's also a great pickup if you don't have a quarterback this week and if he's available in your leagues. He's up against the Bucs, who are 28th versus quarterback. They've had a ton of injuries in their defensive backfield, so they're pretty susceptible to the pass, but we know Taysom Hill likes to run the ball a lot, and he got over 174 yards the last 2 weeks rushing in 22 attempts. So he's definitely running that ball, and last week, the Bucs gave over 100 yards on the ground to Josh Allen. So he's got a great matchup this week to put up some rushing touchdowns, rushing yards, and even a couple passing touchdowns against that banged up defense.
Absolutely. Tampa's defense has not been as effective as what we thought going into the season. It's most likely due to the injuries. Their secondary is definitely banged up where they had to go and pick up guys like Richard Sherman, but even when he started, he got hurt. So Taysom Hill should be able to pass on him, but he does all of his damage on his legs. I think the first week he had when he was a starter, he threw 4 interceptions and still scored over 20 fantasy points. So I like to see what Taysom can do.
Yeah, the last 2 weeks, you're looking at 28 points and 25 fantasy points. So hopefully he keeps that rolling into the playoffs.
Running
back. All right, let's move on to running back. Who do you have?
I'm rolling with James Robinson versus the Texans. Urban Meyer is finally gone. That curse has been lifted from the Jaguars. Everybody has hated that guy as a coach. He is not a good NFL coach, especially after Josh Lambo came out and talked about how he was kicking them in preseason and stuff like that and warm-ups. You just don't treat your players that way, and he didn't know how to use the players to where Trevor Lawrence loves James Robinson, went up to Urban Meyer and was like, why isn't our best player on the field? Why are we not using him? So now Urban Meyer's finally gone. Hopefully they get their best player on the field. The Texans have been terrible against running backs all year. They're giving up 31 points per game over the last 4 weeks. And they just gave up over 130 yards and 2 touchdowns to Rashad Penny, if you guys can remember that name. And the week before that, they got the Jonathan Taylor buzzsaw. So I look to see a boom week from James Robinson this week.
Yeah, James Robinson's biggest weakness was Urban Meyer. For some reason, he really liked using Matt Breida. I don't know why. Carlos Hyde. Sorry, I get those two mixed up. Probably because of those Ohio State days. But yeah, definitely look to James Robinson to pick it up this year.
Yeah, they have definitely exercised the demon in Urban Meyer, and hopefully he never gets a coaching job again.
Well, he might be. We'll probably be seeing him in college next year.
Well, good luck to that college.
All right, I'm going to go with Myles Gaskin this week. They're playing the Jets. They are the 32nd team against the run. Jalen Waddle's looking like he's going to be out this week, so he should see some additional targets. He's only been seeing about 2 to 4 targets a week, but that should pick up this week. And he was heating up before the bye week. He had 17 and 18 out of the last 3 weeks. And he's seeing workhorse usage, averaging about 18 carries a game. So I think he's a solid play this week. Without Waddle, like I said, he should see more passing opportunities and look to get in the red zone this week.
Yeah, we're in the playoffs now. If you're one of the lucky few that was able to make it into your fantasy playoffs, and you get a player like Gaskin who gives you such a safe floor with all that volume against one of the historically worst defenses against running backs that the Jets are producing. Yeah, it's in the playoffs. You got to go with the safety net of that volume.
All right, let's move on to our wide receivers this week.
Wide receiver.
I like AJ Green against Detroit. Obviously, D-Hop's down for the year. Hopefully for them, he comes back for the playoffs. He should see plenty of targets this week. He saw 10 targets last week. That was a season high for him. And he was productive with those 10 targets. He caught 7 of them for 102 yards. So hopefully he'll get into the end zone this week. He should be a good flex play, even on the verge of a wide receiver too, I'd say this week.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And AJ Green is somebody who I went out and traded for in one of my dynasty leagues. I offered a late round pick, so not giving up too much, but trying to push for that championship this year. So we'll see if that works out for me.
And who do you like this week at wide receiver?
I love me some Darnell Mooney this week against that Vikings defense. I talked about a little while ago how their defense has been giving it up. They're currently 32nd on the year, which is dead last, giving up over 43 points per game to the wide receivers. They're giving up over 52 points per game over the last 4 weeks. So a whole month of football that they've just been terrible against wide receivers. They've let up over 58 points to the Steelers wide receiver core. They gave up over 43 points to the Lions wide receiver core a week before. So just keep attacking their secondary. Allen Robinson is out due to COVID, so Mooney will be Fields' best friend and should be peppered with targets to help him beat that Vikings offense.
And it looks like Fields has been stepping it up these last couple of weeks too. So, and Mooney was one of the ones that we really liked coming into this year as a breakout player, and he's got the potential to do it again this week. He's had a few really boom games this year.
I don't see how he doesn't get double-digit targets this week against one of the worst pass defenses in the league right now. So if you have Mooney, start him with confidence.
Are you thinking wide receiver 2 or flex play?
I see him as a mid to high wide receiver 2 with upside.
All right. Moving on to the tight end. I'm going to attack this Jets defense once again for the same reason I like Myles Gaskin. They're 27th versus the tight end, and I like Mike Gesicki this week. Obviously, with Waddle out, he's going to see more targets. He saw 7 targets last time he played against the Jets. Caught 6 of those for 50 yards. It's not a huge game, but it's a decent game. 10 points or so. That's all you really need out of your tight end.
Yeah, unless you have that Kelsey, Kittle, Andrews, TJ Hawkinson, who's, even though he's out, Mike Gesicki, if you can get a 6-catch, 50-yard game from a tight end and you don't have one of those top-tier guys, then you're absolutely happy. And
last week, the leading receiver for the Saints was the tight end against the Jets, Nick Vannett. I haven't even heard of him, but he averaged 14 yards per catch. And they're pretty susceptible to the tight end.
Yeah, that defense is susceptible to every position right now. And they lost their one of the top safeties in the league. It's a terrible defense, but they had one of the best safeties in the league in Marcus May. But a couple of weeks ago, he tore his Achilles, so you don't even have to worry about their best defensive option anymore. Still have CJ Mosley, but he's a middle linebacker. He's not going to keep up with Gesicki, who put up some of the best in the combine a few years ago.
Who do you like at tight end?
I'm going to go over and I'm going to take David Njoku versus the Raiders. Raiders have been terrible against tight ends all year. I've been attacking them whenever I could, especially in FanDuel. They're allowing over 17 points per game to the position. Browns are dealing with the COVID outbreak right now. Their game just got pushed back. I believe they got pushed to Tuesday, or maybe it's a Monday game. I think it got pushed to Monday.
Doubleheader on Monday.
Yeah, but the Browns are dealing with the COVID outbreak, and here's a list of some of those people that are out with COVID. Jarvis Landry, who had 8 targets, 10, and a game with 10 targets, another game with 10 targets in the last 3 games. Austin Hooper's out, who just came off of a 6-target game, and he got a touchdown. Harrison Bryant is still in the concussion protocol, and he's not a big factor anyway, but that's Austin Hooper and Bryant, your other top 2 tight ends, they're out. Your top target and Landry's out. You're going to have to throw it to somebody. Nick Mullins is projected to be their starter.
Mayfield is out, right?
Yeah, Mayfield's out and Case Keenum's out thanks to COVID. Nick Mullins is projected to be the starter. And he came over from the 49ers, and we all saw how much he loved George Kittle over there. So he's proven that he loves his tight ends. So I'm taking the situation that Njoku's been thrusted into. And I like to see Njoku and Donovan Peoples-Jones step it up for their team.
Yeah, Peoples-Jones is another nice sleeper this week for a wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move on to our bust alert this week. Who do you got?
He was my start of the week last week, and thanks to 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns, he was able to make me look like a prophet instead of making me look like an idiot. But Jamar Chase versus the Broncos, he's going to be my bust this week. Since week 9, the Broncos were able to hold these wide receiver cores down to minimal points. They were able to hold down the Cowboys wide receiver core, the Chargers wide receivers, and the Chiefs wide receivers in check. Keenan Allen did the best in that span between those cores. He had 7 catches for 85 yards, which is a good stat line, especially if you're in a PPR. But that's going to be probably your ceiling you're looking for from Jamar Chase this week. Broncos secondary is among the best in the league. They've been top 10 versus wide receivers all year. So I'm predicting around 7 targets for Chase this week, maybe 4 catches for 55 yards. That's going to be my prediction for him.
My bust this week is going to be Saquon Barkley versus Dallas. They're 4th against the running back. Saquon Barkley has the talent to be a top 5 running back in this league, but these injuries have just been slowing him down. They shut down Antonio Gibson last week and held him to 3 fantasy points. And you called that last week. I'll give you that one. He was your bust of the week last week.
Mm-hmm.
So this week, Daniel Jones is ruled out officially. And the Cowboys are favored by 10.5. So that does not bode well for a running game script. They're going to be forced to pass the ball. And I don't see Saquon Barkley having any success in this game.
Yeah, hopefully he can get some damage done in the passing game since he does catch passes out of the backfield, but he's been very disappointing all year. So I wholeheartedly agree with that one.
And that'll do it for our picks and busts this week. Stay tuned. We're going to be back next week with another episode. Make sure to give us a follow on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, give us some feedback. We'd love to hear it. And check our Twitter for our FanDuel plays this week. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Once fantasy season's over, hopefully you guys win your championships this year. But definitely, like Jared said, keep an eye out for our Twitter because FanDuel goes through all the actual NFL playoff season as well. So we'll help you guys make some money all year long.
All right. Take it easy, guys. Thank you.